still proceeding with trigonometric, solving trigonometric equations. We are still solving this. Is that okay? Please, I'm going slow such that you can pick up, you can understand this. Okay, now I want to look at, before we look at clear solving of trigonometric equations, I want us to first look at this. I want to look at finding values of trigonometric, finding values of trigonometric ratios given one. Is that okay? Given one. If I'm given one trigonometric ratio, can I find the value of others? And we are going to basically make use of the expressions, the diagrams, the quadrants we have seen in the first video, or we saw in the first lesson. Is that okay? Okay, that's our subheading, so you can write that in your book. Let us cite an example. Someone says, given that tan x is equal to 3 over 4. Tan x is equal to 3 over 4. And are you saying that? And x is reflex. Is a reflex angle. So x is a reflex what? Angle. Find Roman 1 value of cos x. Is that okay? Roman 2 value of sin x. Are you getting that? Roman 3 we have cosec x. Are you getting me there? Then Roman 4 I'll have cot x. Those are what you want to find. So when you look at this question, please make sure that you are following well. That's where you're going to gain. So look at the question. First of all, what is the sign of this tan x? The sign here is positive, because if number has no sign, then it is positive. So you have already seen that is now what? Positive. Are you getting that? Okay. If now the tan x is positive and it is 3 over 4, is that okay? Then now we have x, it is a reflex angle. Are you getting that? X is a reflex what? X is a reflex angle. Right, then that one is going to help us. So we are going to make use of that. Now I want us to make use, now we are starting the solution. But before we start the solution, I want us to first note something. There is what we always use as SOHCAHTOA. Are you getting that? SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA is summarized by saying sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Is that okay? We proceed. Cos is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos is, of course, there is an angle. Say x. Is that okay? Cos x is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Are you getting that? Then we have the tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. So you have tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. I want that whole word to be rhyming in your mind. SOHCAHTOA. So sine opposite over hypotenuse. Cos adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan opposite over adjacent. That should be part of you. Is that okay? Okay, we have understood that. Meaning that now for us our question is focusing on this tan. Meaning that the tan is opposite over what? Adjacent. So we are now starting clearly the solution. Are you getting that? Let me divide our board. Okay. So we already know that in our question they have given us that tan is 3 over 4. But as well we know that tan is always opposite over adjacent. Is that okay? From the other SOHCAHTOA we have seen. Meaning that our opposite is what? Opposite is 3. And adjacent is what? It is 4. Is that okay? Do I have the hypotenuse? Because now they are asking me to get cos x Is that okay? But now cos x has to be adjacent over hypotenuse. But do I know the hypotenuse? I don't know. Meaning I have to be serious with this. Is that okay? Then also for sine, I'm going to be in need of opposite over hypotenuse. Do I know the hypotenuse? No, I don't know them. So I have to be serious to get them. Is that okay? I have to get the hypotenuse by all means. But how am I going to get the hypotenuse, please? First come and realize, where is this tan falling? Are you getting that? Where, by using this diagram that we saw, where is this tan exactly that they are talking about? First of all, they told me that this tan x, its answer is 3 over 4, which is a positive. Now, clearly first identify where on this diagram is tan a positive. That's why I first taught you how to get the sign. So tan is a positive here in the first quadrant, because in the first quadrant all are positive. So you can have a tan here. Is that okay? Are you getting that? You can have a tan there. Here only sign is positive, tan is negative. So tan, our tan is not here now for this case, because for it they gave it to us as positive. That sign helps us to get where tan falls. Then you have all students take, so tan is here. And then here in this quadrant, tan is what? Positive. Are you getting that? Okay. Now, the type of angle where they said it is reflex helps us to identify where exactly also in which quadrant. That's what mainly works when you have a confusion of quadrants. Now, for example, in our number, they told you that x is reflex. But when you look at reflex angles, they take both these quadrants. Are you seeing that? We have two quadrants which are taken by the reflex angles. Now, we have to choose a specific quadrant. And I realizing that the specific quadrant we're going to choose is going to be the third quadrant. Because that is where tan is a positive and the same time x is a reflex angle. Is that okay? Hope you are following what I'm doing. Tan x is a positive and as well x is a reflex angle. That is only in the third quadrant. Meaning that when now I'll focus on this diagram which has the triangles to choose. Triangles to do what? To choose. Which triangle am I going to take? I'm going to take the triangle in this quadrant. Is that okay? This one here. Is that okay? So you come and pick it. Remember, it has an angle theta here. So just come and pick it. When you pick it, it's going to appear as this. Now it is appearing like this. So you draw it the way it is looking like there. It looks like this. You take it the way it looks like from that quadrant, and our angle is x. It is always there. Hope I showed you where to put the angle. The angle is there. And now where the angles? Remember, we have our tan x as 3 over 4, and we say the meaning opposite is 3, adjacent is what? 4. So the sign positive has helped us to identify where the tan is, and the type of angle reflex has also helped us to identify where the angle is. So where the angle faces, the side it faces, now it is facing in this one. That's where we have the opposite. Is that okay? Then the shortest side is the adjacent. Are you getting that? Then the longest, the hypotenuse. Hope that one is clear. So opposite from our tan here, opposite is what? Opposite is 4. Opposite, sorry, is 3. Because we look at it is soccer tower. Meaning opposite is going to be 3. Adjacent is going to be 4. Now the hypotenuse, we don't know it. So since this one is right angled, hypotenuse is going to be obtained from Pythagoras' what? Theorem. Is that okay? From Pythagoras' theorem. So you are going to have 4, for example, a squared plus b squared equals to what? C squared. Where now c squared is the hypotenuse. So a is this adjacent, which is now 4 squared, plus b is the opposite, 3 squared is equal to c squared. Is that okay? So our c squared is going to be 25, and lastly we're going to have our c as 5. Is that okay? So that is our hypotenuse. So you have got the hypotenuse also as 5. If I have the hypotenuse now, I can come and get cos and sine. Is that okay? Okay, so now come probably we have got our hypotenuse as 5. Remember our cos x, which is Roman 1 they want, is opposite, adjacent over hypotenuse. Our adjacent, you remember, it is 4. Is that okay? Over 5. Are you getting that? But it doesn't stop here. You remember in the quadrant we have chosen, cos x has been a negative there. So when you get this answer, please, to maintain that order, you have to put a negative sign on the answer. Are you realizing where I'm getting that negative? Yes, it is because where I'm choosing this cos x, from that quadrant, where the third quadrant, cos x is what? Negative. It is only turning positive, so cos x is what? Negative. So we put a negative on the answer. We don't use the negatives in working, but we just put it on the answer during the following the fact that in that quadrant cos x is what? Negative. Okay. Roman 2. They want us to find sin x. Sin x is opposite over hypotenuse. I've told you how to get this from SOHCAHTOA. Opposite, our opposite is 3 over hypotenuse is what? Hypotenuse is 5. We have found it. In that quadrant where you got the tan x, where you got the tan x, is sign positive there or negative? Please answer me. Is it positive there or negative? It is negative. Then you put a negative. So you have got them. So you have the cos now at hand, and we have the sin x at hand. Now you can proceed and get the secant, the what and what. All of them you can get them, because you know Roman 3 I can get sec x is equal to 1 over cos x. I taught you this in the first lesson. Is that okay? But now you have got the value of cos x, so you can put it there. It is negative 4 over 5. So I'm going to get 1 divided by negative 4 over 5, which is now going to be like 1 times 5 over 4 negative. Is that okay? The negative for it doesn't move even if I take the reciprocal. So I'm going to have negative 5 over 4. Is that okay? Yes. Then another Roman, we have Roman 4. We want to get the cot. Cot is, it can be got by 2 ways. It can be 1 over tan, or it can be cos x over sin x. Anything you use here, you're going to get the same answer. Are you getting that? So you can have 1 over tan x. Initially it was what? Initially it was 3 over 4. So it means it is going to be 4 now over 3. Even if I wanted to use this one here, it is negative 4 over 5 for cos, divided by sin x, which is we have got as negative 3 over 5. You're going to get 4 over 3. Are you seeing that both of them can work? So that's the best. That's the idea with trigonometric ratios. They can help us in anything that we want. Is that okay? Okay. So think you have understood that. So let us proceed and look at example 2. Example 2. I want to use example 2 to summarize also finding the values of this tan, cos, and sine. Hope that one is okay. Is that okay? Okay. Before, of course, we're looking at solving equations, but so far before we reach at that, we have to be sure of what we are studying now here. So, given that, and these questions I'm looking at now, they can be asked very well. Check in that question bank. There is a question which has ever come on this, and it was taking 6 marks. So given that sin x is equal to 3 over 4. Given that sin x is equal to 3 over 4, and sin x is equal to 3 over 4, it is a negative, negative 3 over 4. Is that okay? Negative 3 over 4, and x lies between, and x lies between 270 and 360. Are you seeing that question? We have our sin x as negative 3 over 4, and x lies between 270 and 360. So we have the trigonometric ratio sin x. It is a negative. Negative sign is negative. but it lies between 270 and 360. So I find Roman 1 cos x, Roman 2 tan x. Please look at also Roman 3 cos x, 2 cos x minus 3 sin x. Of course, if I can get cos and sine, I can get this as well. Roman 4 cot, Roman 5 tan. So for them, I'm going to sort of sum, but then you also sort of sum others. Minus 3 cot. You're going to sort of for some others, then you will post for me the answers, and I'll have to mark you. So let us start on the solution. So solution, we have read our sin x as negative 3 over 4, but they have told us that x lies between 270, that is x 360. I'm writing it now in the range form. Is that okay? 270 and 360. So since it is a negative, this one helps us to know something, and this range here. So when you come in this diagram here, first of all, identify where it falls. Of course, it cannot fall here, right? Because this one is not that range. That range is where? It is not also here, because this is 0, 90, 180. So 90 and 180, it cannot be there. 180 to 270, this one is also, it is not there. Are you seeing I'm ignoring them now? So from 270, I come up back to 360. Are you seeing that I'm now in this quadrant here? This one here. Is that okay? I'm in that quadrant. Okay. Now, is in this quadrant here sine a negative? Yes. Are you seeing how the sine has to match with the range? They have to match to give you the other triangle where we pick the triangle. So where we pick the triangle, of course, we said we just beautify. Is that okay? The diagram to make a butterfly inside, meaning that now I'm going to take this triangle here inside. Is that okay? I'm going to take that one. Okay, meaning now I'm having my triangle as this. Hope you are seeing the one I'm choosing it. So my x is here, then this is right angled. Remember, we have seen already that sine x is negative 3 over 4, but sine x, remember, it is opposite over hypotenuse, meaning that the 3 carries on the opposite and the 4 carries on the hypotenuse. So we have 4 here on the hypotenuse, then opposite where the angle faces, it is the hypotenuse, so it is 3. Are you getting that? Now meaning we have to look for the adjacent. So, and I want to assure you and make you comfortable that in the working, please, we don't use this negative. The negative will only put it at answers. Is that okay? Especially on cos, sine, and tan, we only put it on answers depending on the quadrant. Is that okay? Okay. Let us look for this adjacent using Pythagoras theorem. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, so we have our a, we don't know it, a squared plus b squared, this is now 4 squared, which is going to be what? Equal to b is 3. This is a, this is b is 3, then c is the hypotenuse, 4 squared. So I'm going to have a squared is equal to 16 minus 3 minus 9, that's what? That is 7. So we have our a, which is the adjacent, as root 7. Don't put the answer in decimal points. Please don't put the answer in decimal points. Leave it as root 7. So you're going to have a as root 7. That's our adjacent. Okay. So having obtained that, now we can, I think, find cos, tan. Yes, we can find them now. Remember, our sine x is negative 3 over 4. So our cos x, which is always now adjacent, which we have got as root 7, over hypotenuse, of course, which is 4. Is that okay? That is the value of cos. So we have answered the first Roman, because we just substitute in the formula. Cos x is is adjacent over hypotenuse. That is cos adjacent over hypotenuse. They have got the hypotenuse root 7, then the hypotenuse is 4. What is the sign in that quadrant? Is cos positive or negative? For sure, cos is positive in that quadrant. We saw the signs, because we said all student teachers con. So in the last quadrant, we have cos x, which is positive. Others are negative. Okay, so if I want to get tan x is going to be opposite over adjacent. So since it is opposite over adjacent, our opposite is still 4. Sorry, our opposite is 3. Our opposite is 3. Our opposite is 3. Hope that is true. For sure, is that true? You can correct me if I call poorly, but according to the diagram we drew as if the opposite was 3, right? Okay, then over our adjacent is root 7. What is the sign of turning that quadrant? It is a negative. I attach a negative. Is that okay? Are you seeing the reason why I'm attaching negatives and positives? You have to know this. Is that okay? Okay. If you have understood that, please now we can proceed and find these others. If someone told me 2 cos x minus 3 sin x, I can find this because I have found the cos x. I put the value there. We have found this cos x, please. You put the value there, minus 3. Then put the value of sin x there and simplify. Are you getting that? You can basically leave the answer in fractions if possible. If not, then you can put it in decimal points. That is done. So you can do the remaining parts. Is that okay? Yes. So we have used this second lesson to know how to find the values of cos, sine, and whatever. Is that okay? And they have to identify the sines and quadrants. So that's the use of those signs, the sign on the trigonometric ratio and the quadrant. Understand that probably that is the basis of trigonometry. Hope that one is okay. So we shall stop there for now. Let us now go and look at the third lesson. So you are most welcome to the third lesson. Thank you for being so attentive in the second lesson. Thank you.